Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, welcome to every one of you here to our September Surrey Police Board meeting here, held within the traditional territory of the Kutsi-Kwanlets people, upstretching to the Coast Salish people here in Metro Vancouver area. Really want to thank all of our directors and staff that are here today. Also, just want to acknowledge the day that we're meeting on September 11th, and all those ones that gave their lives to assist and support our loved ones down south. Little love offering to that, the ones affected by that. With that, I'm going to call our meeting to order. Our meeting to order. Can ask if there's any declaration of any conflict from any of our directors. There are none. First order of operate is adoption of minutes. Adoption of the agenda from September 11th. Today. Favor? Opposed? Thank you. Adoption of our minutes from last meeting, July 16th, 2025. Moved second. Thank you. Moving right along into presentations and delegations. We will be having a presentation from Chief Lipinski regarding the extortions here within Surrey. I will turn that floor over to Chief Lipinski. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Before we get into the SPS presentation, I'll ask Director Allen to make a few opening comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So over the past several years, reports and investigations into extortion have been on the rise in Ontario and Alberta jurisdictions. More recently, Surrey has been a significant increase in extortion attempts. As I will say in my committee report later in the meeting, data shows that overall crime in Surrey is down, but in 2025, there have been 39 extortion attempts reported and 27 related reports of shots filed. Surrey residents and businesses are the owners of SPS, and they are saying that extortions are one of the top threats to public safety. As their representatives, the governance committee met with Chief Lipinski and were briefed on the steps SPS is taking with policing partners to address the issue. The committee asked him for a presentation to the board and community following today's meeting that highlights the actions and resources applied to the problem. The committee also wanted Chief Lipinski to brief the board and public about the complexities of these investigations to help manage expectations, especially given the heightened public and media interest at this time. Lastly, to protect the integrity of investigations, not everything the chief knows can be shared publicly, but I can say that from what was able to be shared with the committee, Chief Lipinski and his team has our confidence to manage this most pressing and concerning crime trend. Thank you. And back over to Chief.
Thank you, Director Allen. We've got a few slides here that Deputy Chief Prosick will walk through and speak to the issue of extortions. Deputy Chief Prosick is in charge of the Investigative Services branch, and I will echo your comments in that this is a top priority for the Surrey Police Service, and there is a substantial number of detectives that are working on this, and we certainly look to getting more information if we can from the public, because that's what drives some of our investigative techniques. And I can also tell you that our investigations are moving forward. But let's start at the beginning, and I'll ask Deputy Prosick to walk us through the slides. Mike?
Thank you, Chief. Next slide, please. And thank you, Director. As you have mentioned, Director, the increase in extortions and extortion-related violence in 2025 has been dramatic. We believe that part of the rise in extortion complaints is the result of our public campaign, our media messaging, encouraging victims of extortions to report it to the police. This is critical to assisting the police in responding and investigating and linking investigations together. So in 2025, as Director Allen's mentioned, we've already had 39 different complaints of extortion, but unfortunately, we've had 27 reports of shots fired that we believe are related to extortions. This problem as we all know, is plaguing Surrey, but it's also impacting the entire region. We know that there are investigations that are like the ones that we're receiving in Surrey, reported in Langley, Richmond, Delta, New Westminster, and certainly Abbotsford. So for that reason, we are working together closely with our partners. We also know that this is not just a BC, this is an interprovincial problem. And frankly, agencies in Alberta and Ontario have seen this trend before we have experienced it. And we are in communication with those agencies, namely Edmonton Police Service and Peel Regional Police, and learning from them, adopting some of their best practices, which is helping us move forward during this difficult time. Next slide, please. SPS's response is multi-phased and multi-pronged. I'll first speak to our investigative response, as Chief said. We are involved in great number of investigations. The Chief, all of you are aware, announced the standing up of a dedicated SPS extortion investigation team. And that team has been very busy since forming that team, and they've worked hand in glove with the RCMP-led task force that we also have assigned full-time sworn members and civilian members to support that team, but our extortion investigation team works hand in hand with that team. Again, sharing information, sharing intelligence, and adding to the capacity to effect operations. From the Community Policing Bureau, SPS's response has also been multi-pronged, and our investigators, our community policing teams are working together to make sure that we're covering all the bases the best we can to provide public assurance and move investigations forward at the same time. We have increased our presence in businesses throughout Surrey, but we've also been doing things after hours to increase our presence in areas of concern during the right times. And we utilize all the resources we have, and both marked vehicles, unmarked vehicles, and other techniques. To date, we have engaged over 700 businesses in the South Asian community. Those are our community policing teams, both uniformed personnel, civilian personnel. In fact, yesterday, our community policing teams commenced a project centered around the Pyle Plaza and the neighboring businesses to increase presence, engage businesses and clientele in the area to really provide that assurance and increase engagement, which is always really important when we're trying to move investigations over. The more information from the community, the better for us. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, many of these files are interprovincial. That is a massive challenge for us. I can't go into details with respect to any evidence, but this is a fact. It actually goes beyond provinces. In some of these files, there is a proven international connection. We're aware of that, and for that reason, we are meeting with our partner agencies at the municipal level, as well as provincial and federal on a weekly basis. As we've seen in other jurisdictions, getting to point of arrests and charges in extortion investigations are a massive challenge, especially in British Columbia. We are one of the provinces that requires that the police cannot unilaterally charge on investigations, that it has to go through a very robust process through the Crown, and the Crown effect those charges. And this process, although has certainly certain benefits, it does delay charge approval, And we have experienced that in some cases. So bringing the investigation to a point that meets the bar expected of Crown to ensure a strong likelihood of conviction can be a challenge for our investigators. But rest assured, our investigators are working 7 days a week on these files, all hours of the day, and in different capacities using different techniques, and both the investigative teams and our community policing teams. Next slide, please. That's the end. All I'll say is, in conclusion, is that for SPS, it's all hands on deck. This is, I'd suggest, one of the priorities for the entire agency. We are evolving our response as these crimes evolve. They are evolving quickly, but we're addressing it in every way we can.
Mr. Chair, if I just can conclude with some comments, and to any of the public that may be listening, our messaging to the community is that this will take some time. We are making advances. If you're subject to extortion, report it. Number 2 is preserve the evidence. Number 3 is do not pay. And we will look towards putting together safety plans, which we do for everybody. And then we also, in those specific occurrences where necessary, we go door to door in the neighborhood as well and answer questions. I'll stop there if there's any comments or questions, Mr. Chair.
Any questions, comments from Director Stepp?
Thank you, Chief. And Deputy, you mentioned the high threshold for charges here through Crown Council, and I believe you made reference to a charge going forward. Has there been one forward that's not been approved in relation to the extortion file?
We have forwarded at least one report to Crown Council, and that's pending decisions. There's actually 2, but I would say that there's one relating to this series.
Thank you.
More questions or comments from directors?
Not be able to answer this, but are there other provinces or just this province that has this higher threshold?
Oh, I would suggest that this is the highest. Most provinces, in most provinces, the police have the ability to lay their own charges. There are 2 others where Crown is required to lay their own charges, but I can't speak to the. Sorry, go ahead.
Quebec, yeah.
Yes, yeah, but I don't know what their charge approval standard is. I don't know if it reflects the same as BC, but in BC, the Crown is expected to arrive at the opinion that there is a strong likelihood of conviction before a charge is laid.
No, I was just going to add to that the standard in BC is the highest, and the strong substantial likelihood of conviction is the way they refer to it. And then a lot of times it's noted that because Crown makes the decision versus the police, there's just a different level or a different standard that just makes it that much higher. I think the intent is to be able to be efficient when you're in the courtroom, because you say that there's a strong likelihood of that.
So I understand the charges have to be approved by Crown, but everybody is blaming the police for not doing anything. So how we can improve this situation? I mean, do we need to talk to the minister, or how this thing can be worked better? I mean, if other provinces can have convictions, why we cannot?
Thank you for the question, Director. It's been talked about quite a bit about having a Crown Counsel attached to the extortion file, working hand in hand, which shortens the timeline of the charge being laid. So the present situation is that investigation occurs, file goes to the Crown, and that'll be the first time they have eyes on it. And so, as you can appreciate, that takes time. If they're embedded with the investigative team, there's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained. And they would presumably assist in giving advice of how to, if you will, or what their requirements are, et cetera. So I would offer that to you.
Is that, it's obviously outside the norm, is that becoming a bit more, not yourself, norm, outside the normal? Is that becoming more common practice, or is that just in the system?
No, it's, there's been just discussions at the present time, Mr. Chair. So that's beyond sort of the purview of policing, in the sense that we're the investigators. So I bring it to you.
And just to add to that, I would suggest that Crown Council in each province is run differently. They have their own policies, their own standards. And what we've seen in this province is that the Crown is reluctant to do as described by the chief. Other provinces is a little bit different. They're always available for advice, but they, in my experience, they are very clear to exert a well-defined independence from any investigation. That's very important to them, and that's part of why it works the way it does in BC.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to further on Director Baines's question with regards to Crown Council reports, and would it be advantageous to advocate for a special prosecutor, or that would go beyond, that would have to be at the charge level, I would understand, but are there not, and perhaps a question for our legal advisor here, are there not investigations, federal investigations, that from time to time have Crown assigned as embedded within the file, if I may ask that?
Yes. I've seen that before on the federal side. On the provincial side, for example, we had retail theft about 20 years ago here in Syria when I was RCP legal counsel, and we had a Crown Counsel assigned that handled these prolific files, whereas the same person over and over again preying on stores even 20 years ago like that. So it does happen. It's not common. Deputy, these Crown Counsel have to be very policing, but it is possible to have someone like an intake Crown who sees all the files and they're 100% familiar with them, and there's a lot of similarities. Every file is different, but they would see a constant stream, and they're perhaps more efficient that way. Keeping in mind that it will be always separate from us. They won't be sitting at the investigator's desk doing work like they might in other provinces here.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, pertaining to the director's comments, I would agree that there is merit in the board discussing this further. I give you the numbers, which you've seen, 39 files. And so as the SPS Council indicated, when there's a lot of files that are serious files and they're complex files, there's merit in having discussions about prosecutor being attached or some hybrid system of that type in order to process these files once they get to close being the charge stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more?
So just keeping with the question that's being asked, is there merit in asking the other police services if they, like, I'm assuming that if we came together as a group and plot our case, that it would have a bit more merit to it? Is there an appetite for that?
Thank you for that question, and it's a very good one. We as a police profession, we are apolitical, if you will, and so there's merit in the boards, especially those that are affected by these files, As we know, and has been mentioned, Abbotsford and Delta, and there may be a lot of goodness in moving forward with that proposal, or at least having that discussion.
Any more comments or questions, Chief? Thank you very much for that report. I think for all of us as directors, it's top of mind for us. Obviously, public safety here in Surrey is top of this for all of us, the well-being of all of us. I really thank you for work you're doing, and whatever we can do to support that, we're behind you to support that. Okay. Moving along, we have no delegations this afternoon. Consent items, we have 2 consent items. We have minutes of decisions for the procurement of police-related technologies. This is for information only. We also have payroll governance, which is for decision. So I will kick that over to, oh no, they still need to make a decision on.
Yeah.
Everybody had a chance to have a gander at those? The payroll governance? Okay. Do we need you want to put that motion forward? Do you have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda, and then once that's done, you can move on.
Okay, so we can move on to approval of the consent agendas items. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We can move along to F. Apologies. Reports. And again, picking it over to Chief Lipinski for the Chief Constable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I've just got 3 points to make. Last week, we swore in 19 recruits that started at the Justice Institute of BC. And thank you, everyone who attended that ceremony. I think it's fair to say it was a very nice event. And they were very appreciative of the board and the mayor being present. And they are now in class, and we look forward to them coming out in Block 2, because Block 1 is about 12 weeks. Block 2 is where they are with an FTO, a field training officer, for a number of months, and then they go back for 1 more month, and then they graduate. Additionally, we swore in 23 experienced officers. And we have experienced officers from all across Canada. And that is a big class that they are now in training internally here with the SPS. Our training is 6 weeks for experienced officers. Third point I'll make is that we, of course, are in Whalley and Newton communities. And we now are on the west side of South Surrey. And in November, we will be taking over the east side of South Surrey. I can tell you that we are ready to go. We have the people, we have the equipment, and we have our reporting methodologies in place. And we are working closely with the RCMP, SPOSU, contingent to ensure that it's a smooth transition. One of the things that is very positive is the experiences we had as we moved through Whalley, Newton, and west side of South Surrey is both organizations now have a template. And we are just walking through that template, getting ready for the November takeover of the east side of South Surrey. That is my report, Mr. Chair.
Questions or comments from directors? Thank you very much for your report, Chief. Moving along to committee reports. First committee report is the chair's update on Finance and Risk Committee.
Chief. So since the last Surrey Police Board meeting, the Finance Committee met twice. First meeting was on July 23rd, where the committee delegated the authority to make decisions on the board's behalf, carefully reviewed requests and policies for procurement and policing related technologies. Direct award for procurement of the technologies was approved in accordance with Article 3.25 of SPS Policy AD 8.3. Minutes of the decision can be found in the consent agenda and the board report explaining why the provision for direct award apply
can be, for direct award applied can be found in the reports for the information of today's meeting package. Finance Committee also met on August 26th to review expenditures against budget for the current year. Discussion collaboration with the City of Surrey on the 2026 budget plan for SPS. The SPS receive a progress update on enterprise risk management and deal with some internal administration matters. A report on year-to-date expenditures can be found in the reports for information in your agenda package. I won't go through the report in detail, but would note that the financials show the SPS is on track for a balanced budget for year-end. I would also draw attention to an explanatory note that has been added to the line for the Provincial Operations Support Unit that is researched by RCMP certain districts of Surrey, while SPS recruits to take over those areas. Purpose of the note is to clarify that while the financial report has a line for the unit's estimates and expenditures, neither the Surrey Police Board nor SPS have been provided details of RCMP's estimates or actual expenditures to be able to confirm accuracy of the numbers. Oversight and management of the unit's budget and expenses is provided by the RCMP and provincial government through a contract between the province and the federal government. The board office and SPS are working closely and collaboratively with the City of Surrey to review what is needed for next year in order to clarify issues for the council and the board before the board submits a provincial SPS budget for 2026 by the November 30th deadline. An advisory budget committee was created last year, and staff from the city, SPS, and the board office are meeting regularly. Draft budget will be coming to the committee at the end of the month or early October. I anticipate it being brought before the board at the October meeting. With regard to the enterprise risk management, Chief Lipinski informed the committee that he is in the process of hiring someone who will have responsibilities to manage ERM processes. The board's interim executive director also met with the City of Surrey about integrating ERM strategies, policies, and mitigation for emergencies and natural disaster planning, with more to come in the future.
Any questions, comments from directors? Fantastic. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Moving along to Governance Committee, we have 4 items, and I will turn that over to Director Allen.
Thank you, Chair. The Governance Committee met on September 2nd to consider a number of reports for information prepared by SPS and to make recommendations to the board for decisions on certain matters. Information reviewed by the committee can be found in the agenda package for today's meeting and includes an update on a body-worn camera pilot, SPS community engagement with business community in District 5, and a summary of the community event safety report and recommendations of the Honorable Christopher Hinkson. The Governance Committee is developing governance rules for major policing events that will be informed by the community event safety report and reports on police governance following the G20 in Toronto and the invocation of the Public Order Emergency Act 2 years ago. Work on those rules have been deferred to our next committee meeting. The SPS presented crime statistics data for the Governance Committee to review. The data was interesting for a few reasons. One is that crime has decreased year to year over several categories. Another is that according to the Crime Severity Index for violent, non-violent, and total crimes, Surrey is safer than the rest of BC, and Surrey is safer than Vancouver. However, while crime and crime severity are down, this is not translating into the public feeling more safe. This may be due in part to an increase in incidents of high-profile, serious crimes like extortions that particularly impact victims but leave everyone shaken. I want to thank Chief Lipinski for his presentation earlier in the meeting and to reassure the board and the public that the Governance Committee will continue to monitor the crime data for trends and to work with the community and Chief Lipinski to develop strategies that improve public safety. The data and trends in crime problems will also inform the committee's recommendations, priorities, goals, and objectives for SPS. The Governance Committee also discussed how to enhance engagement and meet regularly with Council about shared priorities and reporting value for money of policing initiatives. The general manager of public safety for the city of Surrey will be meeting with us later, which is a good start in developing strategies and communication processes. So we've got a few things for decision. The first is the formation of a facilities committee to oversee capital plan for training facilities and firing range, relocation of the operational command center, and storage for police exhibits to repurpose space to accommodate incoming frontline officers. A report to the committee's recommendations can be found on page 15 and 16 of the agenda package. And I'm not sure, do I move or does?
We'll do the motion. The motion is,
You're eligible to move the motion.
Okay. Okay, so the motion we're putting on the floor is that the Surrey Police Board approve establishing an ad hoc facilities committee, and that the board direct the governance committee to draft terms of reference and make recommendations to the board regarding the committee's structure and membership.
all in favor? Second move for, yep. That's good.
Thank you. The next is where the committee is recommending a decision by the board approval of what we heard from community in surveys conducted by the SPS of their priorities for the SPS. A report of the committee's recommendations are located on pages 17 to 21 of the agenda package. And so I will move that the Surrey Police Board approve publishing the What We Heard report to seek public feedback on that report that will help to guide our board in determining priorities, goals, and objectives as required by Section 26(4) of the Police Act, and followed by a board-led survey in 2026.
All in favor? Second move, all in favor? And thank you. Look at them getting stumbling today.
Thank you. And the third is
Business process.
that
Business process and report requirements.
process. Yeah, sorry. So the final area is recommended decision for the board is formalizing our governance procedures for business to be placed on a board meeting agenda and rules to guide the SPS, the board, and the directors preparing reports. The report can be found on pages 22 to 23 of the package. With the substantive rules, the committee is recommending set out at pages 24 and 25. Supporting material in the form of a municipal police board meeting regulation that came into force on July 14th is also added at pages 26 through 32. So there are two elements to the rules. One is to clarify expectations for reports by outlining the purpose of reports for information, discussion, and decision, and what to include in them. And then decisions should offer options, include analysis of advantages and disadvantages, and recommend a preferred option. The other element is to require reports to be previewed by a committee before being added to the board agenda. So this will allow the board to own its decisions and enhance accountability in the public and whose interests we act. So the recommendation is to approve the report. Is to approve formalizing the governance procedures as placed in the package.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Oh, that's only one. There's two parts to that, was there not? Yes, there's two. There was a second.
No, that was it.
That was it. My apologies. I thought I heard two pieces. Thank you. Thank you very much for your report.
Governance report. Thank you.
Fantastic. Moving along, we're moving along to the HRCC committee, and we will do the chair's update. Director Carmona.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The HRCC met on September 2nd. We reviewed a number of things, but there's two items in particular that I wanted to bring forward to the board at this time. The first is that we met to review the transition and the staffing and recruiting for the transition. We're up to date in terms of making sure that we've got the receipts in place to take over District 5, and we will continue to monitor the situation. With respect to that recruiting matter, I wanted to pick up on what the chief said about in particular about the swearing in on September 5th with the 19 new recruits. A number of us were there with the recruits and their friends and their family. It was a very nice ceremony. The mayor was present, spoke welcoming the recruits to the SPS. Director Moore spoke on behalf of the board and the other directors that were there again to welcome the new recruits. It was nice to see them and how enthusiastic they were about joining the SPS. And overall, I think everyone that was there enjoyed the ceremony. The second thing I wanted to mention is one of the things that came up arose out of a report that was it's on the CBC website, but came up through the CBC at the end of August about the long-term off-duty sick that has been experienced by some police services. In particular, that report dealt with the RCMP, and the CBC article indicated that about 7% of RCMP regular members were on long-term off-duty sick as of December 31, 2024. And what that indicates to us is the importance of wellness and focusing on health. And we recognize the stresses that can be involved with policing. And that's one of the things that came forward with that. And the board wanted to encourage again that we have an emphasis on health, wellness, and a positive culture. And by way of contrast, it was indicated by the chief that our comparable number on those on long-term off-duty sick is approximately 1% as opposed to with the RCMP. And we think that that's both good for the members and their health and wellness. It's good for the community because there's less that we have to do to replace those that are on long-term off sick. So I think that works for everyone, and it's certainly going to be, we anticipate a focus moving forward for the board. Those are the two items I want to report on.
Thank you. Any comment, Director Sept?
Yep. Thank you, Director. You made reference to the 7% long-term disability of the RCMP and 1% for the SPS. What are the soft vacancies of the SPS currently that's not long-term, but members opt for various reasons?
I'll ask the chief, but just to clarify, I said approximately 1.5%. I think you said 1.
Okay, I did say 1%, my mistake though. But I'd like to know what our soft vacancies are for the SPS that do not include long-term.
Sure.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, Director. It's 3%, just over 3%.
And we don't have a comparable number right now. At least I don't for the RCMP, but
Yeah, we've
7 and 1.5 for long-term.
The RCMP number is irrelevant. I'm
Just a report
concerned with this one. Yeah,
it's
thank you.
public on the CBC website, for example.
Thank you.
Any more comments or questions? Thank you very much for your report. Very thorough, very good. Moving along, interim ED reports. There's no reports. Moving along to service policy complaints. We have two complaints, and I will turn those over to Director Allen.
Thank you, Chair. So on September 2nd, the Governance Committee met to review two service or policy complaints that the board received at its July meeting and referred to the committee. Service policy file number 2025-001 involves a call for service to 911. Is response to a motor vehicle incident. The complainant alleges that 911 and was told by the emergency operator words to the effect of that it was not an emergency unless he was bleeding. The complaint alleges inadequate or inappropriate service screening and policies. In July, the board passed a motion directing the chief constable to investigate and report on the complaint in accordance with section 171(1)A of the Police Act, and that the investigation review SPS policies, protocols, and training for 911 operators. The investigation was conducted by an SPS inspector who reviewed the audio of the 911 call and a verbatim transcript, as well as relevant SPS policies and standards of procedure. The report can be found at pages 33 to 50 of the agenda package. The issues for the board are, did the operator handle the call in accordance with SPS policies? Does the incident reveal deficiencies in service training or policies? And are there opportunities to improve service or public communications about 911 emergency calls? The investigator's review of the audio revealed a difference between what the operator was alleged to have said and what was said. There was no reference to bleeding. In fact, the operator asked the caller if he was injured, and the caller replied, not really, no. The audio also demonstrates that the operator confirmed that there were no vehicles involved. On page 34 of the agenda package, the governing policy framework is set out and states that if no injuries or hazards are reported, the call is classified as a non-injury single vehicle incident and not a 911 emergency. SPS operational policy 4.36.4 stipulates police attendance is not required, and parties should arrange towing and insurance reporting unless there is a fatality or injuries requiring transport to the hospital, damages that exceed $10,000. There has been a hit and run, the collision causes major traffic disruption, or there is evidence of a criminal offense or motor vehicle act of violation. So based on what the caller said, none of these applied, and so the officer was not dispatched. Instead, the operator offered to give the caller information to call a tow truck. However, the caller did not have access to a tool in order to take the info. The caller asked if the operator could text the number for a tow truck and was told it was not possible to text message on the 911 emergency line. Governance Committee carefully considered the investigation report and recommends that the response to the question of whether the operator handled the call for service in accordance with the SPS policies is yes. For the questions of whether the policy has deficiencies or incident reveals deficiencies in training or service, the committee recommends that the response is no. The third and final question for the board is whether the complaint nevertheless highlights opportunities to improve service or public communications about 911 emergency calls. SPS informed the committee that next generation 911 scheduled for implementation in 2026 should address the current gap in ability to text information to callers. So the recommendation of the governance committee is that the Surrey Police Board adopt a motion resolving 2001-001 had not been substantiated and the complaint file be closed for reasons set out in the report, and that the Surrey Police Board direct the board chair to send the complainant a concluding letter pursuant to section 171 of the Police Act.
Any comments, question?
Sorry.
Or?
Do you have a comment? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So in terms of improving service, as laid out under operations policy 4.36.4, is there a way for us to like communicate that? Because I feel like most people, if they get into a car accident, I want the police there to document that I got into a car accident. Right, rather than you pull out your phone, you take your pictures, exchange information, and away you go.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something we're considering? Public service.
Sorry, you're wanting that you want that to be a part of the response, or you're saying we should discuss more about how we can provide
Yes,
better
discuss. Yes,
we definitely discussed that during
Okay.
this meeting. Yeah.
So there is a motion on the table.
yes.
That is the motion
Did you
to
repeat
close.
the motion, or you're good? Okay.
Any more comments or questions before we make a decision? So can you repeat the motion? The motion is to,
The motion is
This
to
review.
resolve complaint 2025-001 that had not been substantiated, and the complaint file be closed for reasons set out in the report, and that the Surrey Police Board direct the board chair to send a complainant a concluding letter pursuant to section 171 of the Police Act.
seconder? Vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. And moving along to number 2.
So the second is the complaint that the governance committee reviewed is service policy number 2025-002, which involves allegations of inadequate or inappropriate policies for policing excessive noise from altered air engines or mufflers. So at our board meeting in July, Chief Kukitsky was directed to investigate and report on the complaint, including reviewing SPS policies, equipment, and resources in relation to enforcing the relevant provisions of the Motor Vehicle Act and City of Surrey noise bylaws. The investigation report can be found on pages 51 through 53 of the agenda package. Without going through the report in detail, the committee wished to highlight to the board that both the City of Surrey bylaw officers and SPS have authority to enforce bylaws, but bylaw officers cannot take enforcement action for moving violations, which fall to the traffic enforcement unit and frontline patrol to enforce. The committee reviews the following as factors for the board to consider in deciding how to address the complaint. Enforcing excessive traffic noise of moving vehicles requires apprehending violations when and where they are happening, which is difficult to predict. It also is difficult to respond to calls for service if and when they are received, as moving vehicles will likely have left the location by the time the SPS arrives. Planned roadside checks may be more effective, but are resource intensive. And where a police service has more resources, road checks for noise bylaw infractions should be considered against higher priority threats to public safety. The SPS policies that guide the traffic enforcement unit and frontline patrol support the independence of police officers to exercise discretion and judgment in making certain decisions regarding public threats to public safety and enforcement of bylaw violations. The SPS traffic-related operations prioritize high-risk behaviors, particularly where there are impact schools, parks, and vulnerable individuals. So after careful consideration of the complaint, the Governance Committee recommends that the Surrey Police Board find that SPS policies are adequate and appropriately prioritize high-risk public safety concerns, and that the board adopt a motion to conclude its review of the complaint of 2025-002 for the reasons set out in the report, and to direct the board chair to conduct a concluding correspondence to the complainant pursuant to Section 171 of the Police Act.
Thank you. Any questions and comments? Dr. Carmona?
Thank you, and thanks for the report. I think the individual's complaint about noise goes beyond the area the person is in. I know there's similar situations in South Surrey with noise and people complaining about that. I don't dispute that the priorities are. I guess I had wondered when I read the report whether or not a check relating to noise could all be done in conjunction with speed checks that are done by the unit, because often it seems to me, I'm not an expert, but often you'll get speed with increased noise as well. You'll get increased speed. But I agree with where the priorities are now, but perhaps in the new year, we can look at trying to do something more in terms of this issue and whether or not we can make it work with things like speed check. Like if we've got someone operating radar, they can also be on alert for increased noise when that occurs. So, Chief, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the questions or comments, Director. I think there's merit in that. I think as police officers around the table know, when you're at a speed check, you usually hear them before you see them. And so we will take that away, and I'll work with Deputy Lesage. And we do have some sound meters, and we'll report back to the board or the subcommittee pertaining to this particular issue. That pleases the chair.
Dr. Stuck?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. I'd just like to remark on your comments. I think they're very appropriate. We in the city receive numerous complaints of noise, so your suggestion is, in my opinion, very appropriate. I understand the high risk of policing and the priorities, that go with high risk, but I also know in policing there's moments that are not all that busy and present opportunities for roadside enforcement. If you have a traffic section, I believe that's that could be part of their enforcement strategy for a night or a day, rotating around the city. I'm pretty familiar with what you raised in South Surrey, and I think there are opportunities to do strategic enforcement periodically when resources and time permit. Thank you.
Yeah, Director, just a quick answer on, we do that right now. We've had one for street racing in particular. So we've had a special project that's been doing that with members on overtime through the weekend. It's almost through every weekend. So like I said, I got a list of, just over the course of 2 days, we wrote 104 violation tickets, not all for noise, but there are some noise and speeding and excessive speed, street racing. So we are, and that was all particularly down in South Surrey. So on top of the regular patrols, we do have, when we get a number of complaints, we will put together a project team and go out into those areas. And I know the street racing is a big issue in South Surrey, where they come over from Langley and then they meet in South Surrey. And then from there is where all the problems happen. So like I say, we've been targeting them all summer. We find we do is we move them around the city. We stop for a little bit, but I can say that we do as a normal course.
Thank you.
Thank you. The key word that's got me in there, deputy, is initiatives on overtime. Is there not available resources, time permitting, to do these? And if not, why not?
It's because of our resources that are down in South Surrey and our traffic resources. We use all of our traffic resources. Like those are evening specific. So if we want them in the evening, then we try to get, because we're dealing with crowds, and this one in particular, we're dealing with crowds in excess of 200 people. So we need.
I'm very familiar with that situation.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if rescheduling isn't an opportunity to, to present to avoid overtime, which of course is costly.
It's definitely an opportunity, but like I say, for us on the collective agreement, it's a 30-day notice to do that. And typically with a lot of these, we'll try our best. We try our absolute best for that.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? There was a motion on the table to have this file closed and response back. We have a seconder to that. Do we want to review we need to go over the
Motion again?
motion again? You want to do that? We're good? Seconder? All in favor? Passed. Thank you very much. Moving along now to information. We have 3 points for information. First one is body worn camera pilot project, and I'll kick that over to Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll pass it over here to Deputy Matsumoto in a moment here, but the body worn camera is an important project. As we know, all across Canada, police agencies have adopted, various police agencies have adopted the body worn camera. I view it as not only a safety tool, but an accountability tool, both for police officers and the public. And in our research, it's very, very clear that there is an advantage for our police officers to be equipped with a body-worn camera. I'll ask Deputy to make a few comments on it as well.
Sure, thank you, Chief. So the pilot project for body-worn cameras, which as we've indicated before, is to occur in the traffic unit. The budgeting for that pilot and the pilot itself was approved back in 2024. And then we brought the information forward to this board along the way to sort of give you the iterations of how we're moving this forward. And then, of course, next item, which is the sole source purchase for these technology. So SPS is part of the wider BCACP Special Purpose Committee on the Use of Body-Worn Cameras. The primary purpose of that committee is to try to align as much as possible police departments' policies and directives on how body-worn cameras are to be used to provide the public with certainty about, you come into Surrey, is the body-worn camera going to be turned on under the same sort of circumstances as they would be in Delta or Vancouver? So that's the purpose of the committee. Of course, there are minor variations in policy, but we're trying to align policies to be somewhat consistent, again, to provide public with that consistency. So as I said, we are piloting this with our traffic unit. The primary purpose for a pilot is really to understand the technology. It is new for us. It is to socialize our membership on what the product is like and what we tend to achieve from using the product. It's to consult with stakeholders, including board, internal, external in its implementation. Of course, we'll be bringing you updates about how that pilot is going, what we've learned from it, and managing the risk that goes along with technology, with the pilot, and with the full implementation of the technology. As you know, all police departments in British Columbia through Prime BC, who operates our records management system, has also stood up the Axon DEMS environment, which is a digital evidence management system. And it works hand in hand with the technology. So it's a chance for us to understand how that technology interfaces with the cameras. And lastly, it's to determine what resources are required for us to support this on a much larger scale moving forward.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Thanks, Chair. I certainly approve the project. Body worn cameras are no doubt avenue for transparent policing, but equally as so, they provide a benefit to the officers that wear them in the police service. There's two sides of a story, and that certainly presents that. But I also think it's a very strong safety feature for everybody involved. I know we touched on this before, Deputy, but my question would be related to the storage. Have we worked that out, storage and maintenance duration of, we touched on it before, I believe, but I believe you'd have to hire more staff. Is that in the works, or how far are we?
So that's the last comment I made about the pilot project. Is we can sort of do our best estimates as to what type of support it needs. I think you're referring to the potentially different models out there where some models have police officers do more hands-on managing of the data, but then of course that means that they're spending less time on the road if we're giving them more administrative tasks to do. Another model has civilian staff that help manage, transcribe, and otherwise, redact those recordings. As you know, when recordings go to Crown Counsel, there are privacy issues with people that are not related to the event at hand and whose image or information is captured on the recording. That needs to be redacted out. So if we understand what that level of support means, but we really don't know until we actually run through the pilot and try to confirm it. So the pilot will help inform us on what does that structure look like for support and how many support staff do we actually need to manage that technology moving forward.
I think it'll be dealt with a bit more in the next one dealing with Axon, but I think in your comments, my recollection of that report is there are some equipment, I think the body worn cameras that are actually mandated which ones you have to use. And does the province say we have to use, is it the Axon one for?
No, I think what you're referring to as far as a mandated piece of equipment is the conducted energy weapon. So the taser equipment. Those it's are mandated by the province as to which models approved for use in the province.
Okay.
Body worn cameras can be any model that works, I guess, for the organization.
And just to clarify, because I think it was Director Stuck was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, where is it being held? Who's holding it? How long are we going? Were those similar to the questions you were asking?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So the images are held by Surrey Police Service in a cloud environment, which is, I guess, stood up and operated by Axon. They provide the infrastructure for us to do that storage. And that is a mandate from the province through Prime Corp as far as that digital evidence management environment by Axon as a means to transition or transfer digital evidence from police to Crown in the disclosure packages. Doesn't have to be necessarily for body worn cameras. That represents one type of digital evidence, but it could be statement evidence, it could be photographic evidence, it could be PDFs of documents and different things like that. So they mandated the environment. That's where it's stored.
Yeah.
That was okay.
Yeah.
I thought I got
pretty much maybe 3 out of 4, 3.5 out of 4. I was concerned about the compatibility with the recordings to the Crown Counsel or with Crown Counsel. Are we there yet? Are they compatible with the systems?
Yes, they are.
Charges.
The Axon environment actually provides, bolt-on tools to their main application that allows for the conversion of videos into different formats. Because you're right, video formatting is there's many formats out there. Not all of them are compatible. So this tool allows us to convert video into usable format for whichever audience is going to be receiving that information.
Thank you very much. Any more comments, questions? Good. Thank you very much for the report. Moving along to sole source procurement.
Yeah.
Parma.
So the committee met, or the Finance and Risk Committee met on July 3rd to review the sole source procurement for Axon. It was discussed at that committee level, which I've already put in my report earlier. So it was after considerable discussion, it was determined that Axon would be the best source for procurement. And so it was the decision was moved forward to procure Axon provider. There was compatibility issues that were discussed, as well as Axon being this also approved by the province for delivery of services.
And there are certain things, I think you touched on that, the tasers have to be Axon by the province. And then there's compatibility issues once you've got Axon for taser, there's compatibility. I think you just touched on what Director Sept was saying, that having Axon also assists with the compatibility with what the Crown information system, is that you're saying as well?
Correct. It is an entire ecosystem, and there are intrinsic benefits to have that Axon compatibility. There are additional tools that we can bolt on to the system that is included in the contract we have signed. For example, we're not quite there yet. This will be in future iterations as we roll the ecosystem out. There's compatibility, like compatibility between body-worn cameras and sensors in a police officer's holster, for example. So as a police officer draws their firearm, it will automatically turn on your body-worn camera. So it doesn't have to be a manual decision to turn on your camera if it's not already on. It also works in tandem with fleet cameras. So part of this contract will be providing cameras in all of our vehicles. The cameras have two lenses. One lens is for an automated license plate reader, so it can pull in or ingest ICBC data on, call it their reg sheet or all the stolen vehicles, expired licenses, and things like that. And the system will automatically read plates and provide an indicator to the driver that there is a potential violator. The second lens acts as the car's body-worn camera. And again, with sensors and the ecosystem, we can actually have those cameras activated through activation of emergency equipment and things like that. So it provides some efficiencies, but it's technology. We have to understand it. We have to learn it. We have to manage it. So we're going to be taking small bites and learning as we implement.
My recollection as well is that by going with the Axon for sole search, you also indicated we have a better opportunity to negotiate a better price.
Yes. Yes, and other intrinsic, value with this package is it's more of a subscription base, like how a lot of software is going these days. If you have Microsoft 365 subscription base, and it's almost like the equipment comes with the subscription. So if you damage equipment, tasers and body-worn cameras are constantly being upgraded and going into new features and new iterations of that device. We would receive the newest iteration of that device as Axon develops it. So it's not like the subscription is just for this particular model of body-worn camera. We actually would get better models as they are released through the life of the subscription.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the report. Moving along, financial report, year-to-date expenditures.
Thank you. So as in page 66 of our board package is year-to-date financial statements, which we've already gone through. We are on budget currently. There's nothing that stood out that needed to be drawn attention to. So things paid up to date. Good to go. Any questions?
Any questions putting the financials today? Thank you very much. We're moving along. We're moving into our correspondence. We have 5 items under correspondence, and I will turn that over to Case.
Well, with correspondence, it's just part of the package. It's available for you. I don't think we need to speak to them. Just it's there for your information.
Everybody will have an opportunity to discuss, read those on their own if you haven't already. Moving along then to new business, we have future town halls and community engagement. Unfortunately, Director Chima is unable to be here today, but I'll turn it over to
So I won't go into this in great detail because I won't presume to know what specifically Director Chima wanted to speak to, but I think the committee has been, and the board has been thinking about the steps that need to take for the priorities, goals, and objectives. And we also need to probably drill down at some point in terms of a strategy, one that differentiates between board level engagement and departmental engagement. And I would say I heard a very useful description that helps to sort of crystallize the difference that where the board would be involved and where the department should be involved. That the board should think, well, the department should think about engagement from a stakeholder level. The people that have in the community have their particular needs, and how is the service going, sort of more at the micro and granular level. And those same individuals, I would call stakeholders, are also what I call shareholders. And that's at the board level. The board, if you think of the shareholders, the owners and residents of the city of Surrey, and that the board's job is to understand their top priorities for public safety, their top concerns for public safety threats, that the board then goes away and works with the department to set the targets for improving on areas that are of concern and maintaining those areas that are successful. That kind of engagement is probably a little bit more macro level. And so what we want to do is have a strategy that appropriately calibrates where is the board meeting with the community and getting that level of understanding to give guidance to the department and the chief and to do the best you can to leave the more one-to-one or direct engagement that the department and the chief do so that we're not tripping over each other or getting in the way of the feedback that I think the chief needs to hear from specific levels of service and the appropriateness of the responses. So I would recommend that what should be done, I don't know that this was for any particular decision, but I would recommend that the board perhaps plan for its own internal workshop and to talk a little bit about what should go into a strategy so that there's an agreement on what would be the effective way to differentiate engagement and make sure that the board accountabilities are met and that the board isn't sort of replicating or duplicating the kind of engagement that the chief and his team should be doing.
You're not making a motion of that. That was it. So I'll let Director Chim follow up. I know we have a few, I don't know, public online. No public online. We have a few in person. No, I just didn't know who else was with Brian. So if there's no public Q&A, if there's no public Q&A.
Excuse me, Chair. I think the process that we utilize going forward for public engagement is paramount for how we go forward. I think the SPS is here. I think it's we should give this a chance and see where it lays. Public engagement, I think, should be used in concert, utilizing the resources of the city. They're very well positioned in that regard. But also, I believe that the board and the board members, our websites, we should be accessible. We don't have to go out and get information. We should solicit people to give us information. That could be through an info thing in the website. People can either access that somehow to make comments. I think in the city, for example, people can contact board members by way of email if they have somebody that they would like to pass a comment on to. I think that would be valuable. I believe it's a matter of making ourselves accessible and making our ears accessible to the public through, not necessarily having to go out. Certainly we will, but I think there should be some vehicle that the public can reach out to us. And, it's not necessarily in the form of complaints or criticisms. It's just in the form of being heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think that echoes quite well a discussion we had, I believe it was last board meeting, about how do we get the board's responsibilities and environments out there to the public so there's a better understanding. I think it's just a follow-up again on kind of that whole public engagement piece. Thank you for your comments.
Good.
No question and answer period. Our next meeting will be held October 9th, 2025, back here at headquarters. And with that, I would like to make a motion to go into closed. Seconded, all in favor? Passed. Thank you very much. We'll be moving into close. We will take a 10-minute break.